name since 1922. Visit freebitsappliance.com today as we're rolling along here on the Morning Roast. The Warriors rally from a 23-point deficit against the Blazers last night, and they smoke them in the second half, 70-45. All 5 starters scored double figures, the 7th time that's happened all season. They've won 8 of 9 at Chase Center, 3 in a row overall, and they're now in 5th place in the Western Conference as they host the Clippers tomorrow night. Let's bring in Anthony Slater to talk all about it, our 95.7 Game Insider here on the Morning Roast. And Anthony, welcome back to the show. Shasky, of course, is on here. I'm feeling like a championship is on the horizon, Anthony. I'm feeling good right now this morning. How about you?
They beat the Rockets, Timberwolves, and
Anthony,
Blazers.
Anthony, don't kill my vibe.
He just ice bucket challenged you.
Hey, don't kill my vibe, baby. They're rolling. Did you hear Klay Thompson last night? I'm sure you wrote about it. He said, if we're healthy, nobody wants to see us. Nobody wants to see us, Anthony.
That's like the 90th time he said that this season, by the way, him or Draymond. I mean, that's true in a sense. Like the Kings certainly aren't sitting there at 3 like, give us the Warriors. But I don't know. I mean, I've seen enough. Like, you know what I want to see? I want to see them get 3 games over 500. How about that? They've had about 6 chances this season. They still haven't done it. They'll have another one against the Clippers. Clippers team has lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, I know. The Westbrook trade the signing has not worked out so far for the LA Clippers. No doubt.
Shocker.
Anthony, a couple of things. Yesterday, I know it's the Blazers, so I understand people wanting to dilute whatever they did yesterday, but I did enjoy, and it's because of their defense. The Blazers defense stinks. But, I did enjoy, it felt like they attacked the rim and the sense of urgency of getting stops defensively. Now, you're not going to be able to replicate that every single night as dramatic as it was, but, that's the kind of balanced floor game that they absolutely are going to need if they want to start talking championship, right?
They attacked Drew Eubanks. Sorry, I'm feeling a little sarcastic this morning, but
you are
what I wrote about where I agree.
Yeah, Eubanks sucks.
Yeah.
Let me just say what you wanted to say.
Yes. But I wrote about the defense because what they did yesterday, which we had not seen them do since really the Mike Brown days, is really switch up schemes and go kind of exotic with their game plan. They're doing heavy box and one. They're blitzing Damian Lillard out 45 feet from the rim. They're just taking the ball out of his hands and making Jeremy Grant beat him from 3 and Cam Reddish. And I know Thibault ended up hitting 5 threes, but they just came in with a playoff-level game plan, and the big thing is they executed it very well. You saw DiVincenzo run down the court throwing up the box and one signs. Again, we hadn't seen that since last year when it was Draymond and Mike Brown with the 2 fists. They're doing the zone against Dallas. So and they talked about it post-game, and one of Draymond's point was when this coaching staff puts together that type of game plan, it typically works. And we just hadn't seen that much this season. That to me showed me urgency, but also more of a belief that, this younger team that hasn't been good defensively is capable of, locking into a game plan and executing it. And I just would like to see more of that.
Yeah, no doubt. Anthony Slater here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Shasky, he's a little sleep-deprived. Slater's not being sarcastic. He's just sleep-deprived. I saw him before the game yesterday. He's making that drive in the Tesla. And, of course, he's now covering the Kings, so he's been jaded by the beam and everything like that. So don't mind Anthony Slater this morning. I'm just kidding there. Draymond Green. We didn't know what happened with the wrist yesterday. He comes back into the game. Played a very good floor game alongside
He said hand, by the way.
He said hand?
He had ice. It was kind of on the left side of his left hand, and I was like, is that a wrist? He said, I'm kind of more hand. So, just so you know, but go ahead.
Yeah, interesting, but he was aggressive offensively alongside Kevon Looney, but if we see that Draymond on a game-by-game basis, now that box and one works a little bit. It doesn't work without Draymond Green.
No. I mean, he was on the backside cleaning up messes, which he always is, and he was the really alert, attentive, fired up Draymond Green. He's a technical from a suspension, and he's still kind of pushing limits at times out there. But we all know this. We've been saying this for a decade, but that version of Draymond changes the game for them.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And I like how they've switched it up. You're talking about subtle differences. You saw a little bit in the Laker game, them throwing him the ball on the block and using him with his back to the basket as a passer and an initiator. I really like that wrinkle because no one is honoring him on the screen and roll at the top of the key anymore.
Yeah, there was that one play, kind of running around the court, talking to this person, talking to that person. I remember he went up to Jerome, said something quick, and then he sprints. He gives the ball to Jerome on the inbound, sprints to the block, fakes the screen, and dives to the rim. And then Jerome hit him with a really nice bounce back. You guys probably remember the play. And that doesn't happen if he's not full speed from the start of the possession. If he's not sprinting from the inbound all the way to the right elbow and then right into a quick slip off that screen catch, layup, he's sprinting back down court. He's pointing at Jerome like great pass, and then he's getting to his place in the box and one. And when he has that type of energy, and maybe that was the time off, right? He missed the last 2 games with this kind of concerning knee swell up, and you think, his body's not in a great place, but hey, maybe just he needed 4 days off, and he came with some juice last night. And the problem for them is, how long can he sustain it? Because as Bonte mentioned, he gets banged up again last night, different body parts. So they need that. They need that pretty much nightly moving forward.
What's the latest on Stephen Curry, Anthony?
Doing contact. There'll be more of an official update today. I think they'll probably announce hey, he's working more into contact work. I think there's a chance you see him in the next handful of games, next 3-4 games. I would not expect Thursday night right away, but maybe they'll surprise. I know he's pushing to get back. He's showing some urgency, which for obvious reasons, considering their place in the standings. But it's coming, and it's coming probably sooner than I expect.
Iguodala?
Yeah, it's funny with Iguodala. He's been out there doing workouts for months now. I remember talking to him after.
What does that mean? Can I ask you a question? Because
let him finish.
No. I'll let him finish.
He's doing the workouts.
What does that even mean? Is he bending over, doing calisthenics? Is he sprinting? No, I'm asking.
He does pregame. He'll be out there. Bonte's out there pregame. You've probably seen him. He'll be going through his full shooting routine pregame. He just then does not play in the game. I remember talking to him after the Spurs game, which he played in. This was that one in the in front of 100K or however many people were there. And he made the point that night that he just wants a good, I believe he said 10 to 12 game ramp up before the playoffs. He wants to play 10 to 12 good games right before the playoffs. That is his goal. So that's kind of really what I expect, just to him to try to get back and stay healthy for the final 10 to 12 games. He is being very mysterious and hidden. I'm sure he'll announce it on his podcast when he's actually coming back. But I don't think he has not been sitting with some injury that's been debilitating. He's just kind of been resting in a lot of ways.
He's ramping up, baby. Let's go. Reinforcements are coming. We don't know about Andrew Wiggins, the timetable there. Have no idea there. I'm guessing he's going to miss the Clippers game, and it could be a while before we see Andrew Wiggins with the personal issues. When we look around the West, Anthony, and we're talking to Anthony Slater here on 95.7 The Game, our 95.7 The Game Insider, Kevin Durant makes his debut with the Phoenix Suns. Now, before we get there, Portland, it feels like they need to reset. The Dame Dollar era is just not going to go anywhere. And we saw that last night, 6 points in the second half. They don't have enough. Don't you think Portland should maybe explore that option this summer, Anthony?
Well, I think they've needed a reset for several years, but they don't want to. It's the same thing as Bradley Beal in D.C. If you were just being cold-hearted, they probably should have traded him for a huge package and a reset 3 years ago. Lillard, you wouldn't have said 3 years ago, but last year, when they hit the tank button.
Right.
But he is, I think just shown such a loyalty to Portland outwardly that they have decided to commit to him long term. So I think what you're saying is correct. Again, if we were playing, NBA Live or franchise mode on Madden, that would make a lot of sense. But that's just because of the personal dynamics there and what Lillard has meant. My guess would be he's just there for his career. And they're probably, kind of mired in mediocrity, not because of Lillard, but because they have not been able to build the correct teams around him. And they don't seem very close to that. So I don't expect a panic button rebuild, but I also don't expect them to be, relevant in the contending conversation for several years either.
As someone who observes the NBA as a whole, and so you're not as, I would say, loyal to the Warrior players in particular, but I do find it interesting. Clay didn't make the top 75 list. Dame did. And I've just zoomed out and I'm asking all right, well, of all the guys that are on those top 75s, there is an expectation of winning championships that goes along with it when you're deemed to be a number one or even a number two. And I look at this and I'm like, why does Dame occupy a space where it's almost like we feel bad for him because of the Portland situation. We don't hold him to the same level as we do other players who are of similar accomplishments. Why is that?
Oh, I mean, you mentioned it. He's a one, and I think there is a belief, if we're just talking Klay Thompson, like if Klay Thompson was just the one on a Portland team, like he couldn't necessarily do what Lillard did. But look, Lillard couldn't have just been in the Klay Thompson spot and been this like two-way force off the ball. So I don't know. Context is different for every player, but generally we're talking. If we're just talking top 75. That's the statistical profile that Lillard has put up over his career, and general high-level respect by his peers across the league. Look, you could probably make a better argument with Anthony Davis. Not having the resume that would stack up yet for top 75 yet. He was on the list. Russell Westbrook's another player. It's much more, regular season statistically based and playoff, winning. But, I don't know. It's rings culture. We could get into that debate if you wanted and all that, but I tend to just kind of fade away during those conversations. It's just not the type of stuff that fires me up.
Anthony Slater here before we let you go. Kevin Durant making his debut in Phoenix. A lot of people are anticipating this. They play the Charlotte Hornets. When it's all said and done, do you see the Phoenix Suns maybe being the most dangerous team in the Western Conference?
Yeah, if they're healthy. I mean, I would label them the favorite. Kevin Durant, it's so easy for him to meld into any team on the court because of the way he plays, right? There's never, you send Kyrie to Dallas and you're like, all right, that's kind of intriguing, but how's it going to fit late in the games with Luka? You're already kind of seeing those issues. Mm-hmm. Do you guys, I like personality-wise with KD, you might have questions, and health-wise with KD, Chris Paul, but like when you actually think about if all of their guys are there on the court, do you even have any worries about how it actually looks with Durant? Or you're just like, Kevin Durant's going to score 31, he's going to play good defense, he's just going to kind of be dominant when he's out there no matter the team he's on.
And he makes everybody around him better, including DeAndre Ayton. I think he's going to benefit the most.
What would make you believe in the Golden State Warriors? Because you seem lukewarm on them right now. Is there a win? Is it a style of play? Is it a stretch? Is it guys getting back to the court? Like, what's going to really make you believe, Anthony?
Two things. Health. Like, I need to see Steph Curry on the court. I need to see Andrew Wiggins back in the fold and, looking in shape, which, I don't believe he's played basketball now in at least 2 weeks. Gary Payton II, so they can have some level of playoff perimeter defense, which they don't have. So just seeing those guys on the court is like prerequisite number one, because if they're not healthy, they're not, a contender. And then once they are healthy, you said a stretch of basketball. They have not had a stretch of basketball like last season. They have not been 3 games over 500. So extended, and within that stretch of basketball, seeing a hunger level that, as I remember last time we were on with you guys, we were talking about it. And you guys were, by the way, hitting the major panic button last.
Yeah, it was. We flip flop a little bit on the show. That's just what we
it happened.
I'm so reasonable, and I take it day by day.
Anthony, man,
I don't get too high. I don't get too low.
It's a day-to-day
My partner
operation.
over here,
usually I don't get too low, but last Friday it kind of hit me. But weekend did me some good.
Everyone hits rock bottom. A weekend and 3 thrilling wins over tough conference opponents.
Slater, hey, I kind of forgot what I was going to ask now. Something about the Western. Dante DiVincenzo. That's what I wanted to ask before you left.
Okay.
Player option, $4.75 million. Nobody ever talks about it. We talked all season about Draymond's opt-in or opt-out as player option. What could happen this offseason? What about Dante DiVincenzo? Because it feels like this is the perfect home for him.
Yeah, but it's going to be very difficult from a financial standpoint. He's going to have to get lowballed in free agency again for the Warriors to be able to afford him. Because, you mentioned the player option. It's pretty low. I don't know the exact number, but
it's like $4.7 million or something like that.
There you go. Yeah, it's right around there. You say decline that and stay, but that would mean, I think, they don't have his bird rights because he's only been here a season and he was a free agent. So it's a 20% raise off what he's making this season. That's not what you would expect him to get paid on the market. And then once you start getting to where, what would you pay him if you were, a rival team? I remember back in go ahead.
I was going to say 10 to 12 million. I think he's in that range. I think he makes more than what Gary Payton would make.
Yeah, especially with where salaries are going.
Yes.
10 to 12 million is that's PJ Tucker in Philadelphia. Those are your bench role players who are high level, and I would consider Dante DiVincenzo a high level bench role player who's very young. Like, that's appealing in the league. So if he suddenly has, multiple offers out there that are in between 10 and 15 million, number one, the Warriors just don't have the bird rights to match that. And number two, like, even if they did, are they going to pay that type of tax money? Already now with Gary Payton's contract back on the books, having to deal with Draymond Green's player option, part of the reason they got DiVincenzo was because of the price they got him at. If he's no longer at that price, it's going to be tough for them to afford him.
Man, he's having a hell of a season, shooting over 42% from the three-point line. Anthony, next time you join us, maybe we'll be doom and gloom again. We'll see how the next week plays out with Dakota State Warriors. But, man, what a season for them. They're now 2 games over 500. They've won 8 of 9 at Chase Center, second-best home record in the association, and now they're 5th place in the Western Conference. Anthony, we'll see you tomorrow night at Chase Center when the Clippers come to town.
All right, sounds good.
All right, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Slater, 95-70 game. He was cooked yesterday before the game. He was tired.